Here. I just wanted to log on real quick and essentially, just for whatever reason, go ahead and give you guys my true first impression on Heart of Deimos and the Entrati Syndicate. Pardon me if it sounds like hurricane force winds are blowing against the mic, because my AC is currently blowing directly at me, and I like it being a meat locker in here. Anywho, I'm going to be giving you guys, all of you, certain little tips as to how to rank up quickly, or as far as I've seen, more quickly in the Entrati system, in the Entrati Syndicate. So the first thing you're going to end up doing is going through and checking your inbox, because that's one of the things that I did notice whenever Heart of Deimos finally dropped, that I didn't see it in the codex. Instead, I had to do the Horned, which was a capture, and then I ended up getting a message in my codex for that is basically calling all Tennos, or more or less, and I picked that, and then it queued the mission to unlock the Necrolisk. If you don't know, which odds are there's a possibility you might not know, 50-50 chance, most likely, or 60-40, that the Necrolisk is essentially what Cetus is to the Plains of Eidolon, or what Fortuna is to the Orb Valis. It's the Syndicate little room area where all of the NPCs that you can go through and interact with are. Cambion Drift is essentially Orb Valis to Fortuna, or the Plains to Cetus. That's the place where you actually go out and free roam around and farm out resources, kill whatever, and mine. It's also the place where you go through and do bounties. That I'm sure goes without saying. But anyways, I think I've talked your ear off just about enough. Let's go ahead and go to the Necrolist. Always pick a calm one, because you never know when you jump in, it might end up being too jam-packed and busy. You might be the one player that makes the server full, and all of a sudden you're lagging. Just for safety. If there's an empty one, pick empty. But anywho, skip. This infested amalgamation of flesh essentially is the Necrolisk. Now, if you have never been in here before, welcome to Deimos. First off, but you may be wondering, hey, where are all the NPCs? Well, the first NPC that you'll ever come into contact with after doing when you initiate that is Otak and Lloyd.
It's good to have good friends.
He's essentially Claptrap from Borderlands. He's got split personality disorder, I swear. And one of the things that you're going to need to do to rank up in the Entrati Syndicate is actually go through and get tokens from all of the NPCs involved in the Entrati system. Otak has tokens as well. You go through and you mine out resources to give to him to get these tokens. These tokens are necessary for ranking up in the Syndicate. So don't just glance over them and think they're not important, because they actually are. Anywho, let's go over to, who is this? Is this father? Is this son? This is grandmother. Okay, grandmother is a person you go to exchange excess tokens for extra standing. One of the things I'm going to let you guys know right now, going through and doing bounties will passively get you mother tokens. I haven't seen anything yet that requires mother tokens, but you'll get a lot of mother tokens just by doing bounties. Now, if you want to go through and build up your standing really quick, then you go through and you do bounties to farm out those mother tokens, do like 5 or 6 bounties, or just do the entire thing, and potentially get Zaku's parts as well as the new war fan, and you'll get a bunch of mother tokens. Then you can come over here.
Foolish old woman, snap out of it. I'm sorry, dear. Were you saying something?
I was, but okay. Anyways, you get these 3 options. I don't know what exchange family tokens are about yet. Grandmother's oddities are essentially like exotic goods from Little Duck. Only you trade in tags, like grandmother tags or something of that nature, or random tags for cosmetics and capturas and things of that nature. Father token ornaments and things like that.
Very well. I'll be here.
But the thing that you're going to want to do, okay, thank you, grandmother. The thing that you're going to want to do to build up your standing really fast is go through and farm out mother tokens, like I said. Bring them to grandmother and turn them in for standing. Keep the father tokens, keep the daughter tokens, keep the OTAC tokens, and keep the son tokens. It's the mother tokens that you can get like crazy. And you can turn, like you see, I've got 22 father tokens, 19 daughter tokens, 4 OTAC tokens, because mining is a pain in Cambion Drift, and 10 sun tokens. But I've got 261 mother tokens, because I've done a number of bounties already. Yeah, mother tokens are a lot easier to get than the rest of them. And if I remember correctly, father tokens require you to go through and farm out resources. Daughter tokens require you to cut fish. OTAC tokens require you to mine. And sun tokens require you to capture Cambion Drift wildlife with your trank gun. As you can see, my daily standing cap is currently 0 because it is 308 here, and my standing cap is not refreshed. But you turn those in and go through and get to your cap really fast. But that's beside the point.
I'll be right here, gathering dust.
In order to go through and get certain resources for ranking up, like the first one is going to require spinal something or other, and some daughter tokens. I think also sun tokens, maybe. So you're going in order to get those spinal parts.
I wasted years being angry with my brother for what he did to my specimen.
Okay.
Now I think they meant more to him than they ever did to me.
Please stop talking. Okay. This is Kaylee, however you pronounce her name, but I just call her daughter or waifu, whatever. Don't judge. Anywho, whenever you go into Cambion Drift and you go through and you start farming, or you start fishing, the fishing is significantly different whenever it comes to fishing in the plains or fishing in the valleys, because fishing in the plains, you're basically gigging fish with a spear. And in the valleys, you're shock gigging robot fish. In Cambion Drift, the fish fly over the fluid. And that's a little weird. But one of the things to remember, in order to get those spinal columns, for the first rank up from neutral to stranger, you're going to need to go through and catch fish that you almost exclusively see in caves. And that fish in particular is the Vitreous spina. Oh, okay. The Vitreous spina is where you get the spines.
You don't see this type every day, but there's lots about.
Yeah, the spinal cord section. That's what you're going to end up needing. I'm not cutting this because it's magnificent, and I'm saving that for the trophies. But one of the most important things whenever you go through and you're cutting fish, at least until the update comes out, is cut one at a time. Because if you cut the whole bundle, if you cut the whole catch, then you're only going to get one resource for every single one that you cut. But you're like, okay, say you've got 19 fish that you infested fish that you caught in Cambion Drift, and you decide to cut all 19 of them at once. You're only going to get one spinal cord segment and other resources for all 19. Cut one at a time to maximize all of the resources that you get from cutting the fish. Otherwise, you will have gone through all of that effort for nothing. I feel I have to reiterate, cut one fish at a time, because if you do not cut one fish at a time, like I said, at least until the next update comes out where they fix that, then you're going to end up wasting a lot of fish. Now, after that, let's go over to, we just talked to Otak, we talked to daughter, and we went to grandmother. So let's go to son. And he's going to talk.
She should have trusted me to strike out alone. Yes, the infested followed me home, and yes,
blur, the blur, the blur, the blur, the blur.
But I hadn't learned how to control them then.
I'm staring at my wrist very condescendingly right now. Anyhow, now, Sun is essentially what Master T's and I and the business is in Cetus and Fortuna. He goes through and he promotes preservation, going through and capturing, tranking, and just overall preservation of certain wildlife in Cambion Drift. If you don't know yet, there's so far as I've found anyways thus far, there's infested Kavats and infested Kubrau in Cambion Drift, and they almost all travel in packs, and sometimes you'll even find them fighting infested and sometimes each other. What you got to do is you got to go through and you got to trank them really quick before the infested or themselves go through and kill each other, so that you can get that sweet standing and trade tags in. Now, the tags that you can trade in get you things like floofs and conservation emblems and stuff like that. But if you want to go through and redeem tokens for Sun, you go and you hit Capture Deimos Wildlife. It'll tally up all of the rescues that you've already accomplished, whether good or bad or perfect captures, and make it to where it gives you those tags. You can trade those tags in for the tokens. And as I said before, the tokens are crucial in order to rank up, and in order to get the Helmet Chrysalis system, as I'm sure a lot of you are going to be attempting to do, you, from what I understand or from what I've been told, you have to get to rank 3 in the Entrati Syndicate. So whenever you get in here, I recommend going through and having a resource booster, but even if you don't have a resource booster. I recommend farming out in Cambion Drift, going through and doing bounties to farm out mother tokens so you build up your standing with the Entrati Syndicate along by turning mother tokens into grandmother. And yeah, going through and just stockpiling on these tokens, because these tokens are very important. These tokens are as important as debt bonds in Fortuna whenever it comes to ranking up. So build them up, get as many as possible. You see, I've already got 18 Vizier tags, Vizier Predicite tags. I've been doing a lot of farming. The other thing that Sun also does is he allows you to somehow, from one way or another, if I remember correctly, you can browse wares and get parts like mutagens, antigens, and apparently scenes for Captura, but also bait and calls, most likely. But he allows you to go through and craft your own infested Kubrau or Kavat. I'm not going to go through and attempt to say these names because they are a mouthful, and this screen is a lot smaller than I'm used to. So, Predicite is essentially the Kubrau. Vulpaphyla, okay, yeah, Vulpaphyla is the Kavat. Now, the weakened Predicite is essentially the head, or the general mass of the body. You can go through and choose from 3, kind of like going through and building kit guns. But instead of kit guns, you're building an infested companion. So let's see. There's no special thing that I've seen so far with this. So we're just going to pick
we should apply a
Vizier Predicite.
if the creature gets done.
Hey, I have 6 already.
Good.
Alright, now this is where it gets interesting. You can actually change the visible cosmetic traits depending on the mutagens and antigens that you pick. You can go through and pick the Arioli Mutagen, and what this one does is essentially gives the companion resistance. It gives them resistance to things like Grenier, things that do damage that are basically cloned flesh. So the side effects are the side effect that you get from this mutagen is that the infested companion grows through the tail. I don't know exactly what that entails, but I'm guessing it gets a stub of a tail.
As you wish.
Now you pick the antigens. The antigens essentially give you particular polarities, or like start out polarities, at least as far as I am assuming that one. But it essentially attunes the infestation within to Madurai polarity, or whatever polarity you choose. Madurai, Naramon, okay, V polarity, dash polarity, D polarity, and Penjanga polarity. I've never heard of that polarity. But seeing as how the link mods do exist, and shut up, son! Seeing as how the link mods do exist, and they're all D polarity, I would recommend, at least in my personal opinion, going for the D polarity, of Ozrian polarity, so that you can immediately put a link health or a link armor or a link shields on your infested companion. You click on that and it gives you the look. For some reason, this reminds me of what's it called? The Mirelurk Kings in Fallout 3. Probably from the texture, but it's whatever. But you can change the way the head and the torso look, at least to a certain degree, by changing the weakened Predacite. The Pharaoh basically makes the head look more like a pharaoh. The Medjay, I don't remember what that looks like. Yeah. But let's keep it on Vizier for now. We're going to change the Arioli to take a look at what the tail looks like for each. We're going to go chitin. All of a sudden it looks like some kind of weird roly-poly looking tail with like roly-poly scales or something like that. I don't know. And this one says none observed, so I guess that's the standard tail for the Predacite in general. And that mutagen gives it resistances to enemies with proto shields. So I'm guessing things like arachnoids or certain robots or certain itty bitty sentients. And keep in mind that these are my best guesses, so don't hold me to this. Okay, Cartilage Exoskeleton. This one gives robotic resistance. I can see why it would give robotic resistance, considering. So anywho, that's the Predacite. Vulpaphyla is the Kavats, and this, honestly, I prefer, is actually more interesting than Predacite. Vulpaphyla. The weakened. Okay, so I have 2 crescent Vulpaphylas. We'll go ahead and pick that one since I have it. Go through and take a look at that.
Good.
It gives resistance to proto shield. And of course we're going to pick Vazarine.
Done.
Now you got yourself a demon cat. You cannot say that does not look awesome. I guess it all depends on your taste, technically. But you cannot say that that isn't interesting. Being able to go through and craft your own companion like that. Let's see what it looks like with this. Tail manifests a chitinous tail. Or a chitinous shell. That one just I don't know what to think of that tail. The Fijar Mutagen tail skin recedes, leaving exposed flesh. That tail looks rather interesting, if you ask me. And with that tail also gives the companion robotic resistance. And the Zeram mutation goes through and gives you resistance to Grenier. So if you want to specialize for Grenier, go Zeram. If you want to specialize against robotic enemies, go Fijar. If you want to specialize against enemies with alloy armor, like the Nox, which is, I understand, Grenier, you can go through and pick the Elsa. Or if you just want to go through and grant proto shield resistance for like Von Valists or certain enemies with proto shields, you can always just go the Adra. But the base look changes depending on what Vulpaphyla you choose. And you get these Vulpaphylas by going through and capturing said creature out in Cambion Drift. You capture them by using your trank gun. But anyhow,
As you wish.
there's that. You can go through and browse wares and get lures and things like that. Let's see, is there anybody else that we haven't talked to? I'm pretty sure there is. Oh yeah, there's Father. Haunting, isn't it?
That shard of Saraglass my wife clutches means more to her than the damn wedding ring. None of us could ever live up to her father. Least of all me.
Pardon me if there are any spoilers in that. Okay, so with Father, parts requisition essentially is how you go through and get Father tokens. You go through and you turn in things that you farmed out in Cambion Drift or gotten from Daughter from cutting fish and whatnot, and you get tokens for Father. These tokens refresh. I'm sure that you've kind of already figured that out, considering you rewind and whatnot. But yeah, you go through and you turn those said items in to get, or those specific items in to get those tokens. And Father is the one that gives you the blueprints for weapons. So you can go through and get the Keratinous claws and the parts to make said claws from Father, including the Zymos and the Trumna and the Sepulchrum. He also has these very, very interesting mods, like Damzevati, which is for the Ekbronco Prime, giving the Ekbronco Prime 240% viral. That's a lot of viral. Or the Zazvit Car for the Axtiletto Prime, giving you 75% ammo efficiency while airborne. Essentially what that does is if you're bullet jumping and you're emptying ammo out in enemy faces while you're bullet jumping and hovering, you potentially save 75% of the ammo you expend in your mag by going through and using said mod. Visage Ball. That is for the Paris Prime. Restores 300 health for every 3 status effects and gives 90% status chance. That is pretty ridiculous. If you want to go through and sacrifice some crit damage for extra stat chance to actually get that bonus. But 300 health heals for going through and shooting enemies with a bow that, let's be honest, hasn't seen a whole lot of use lately. That's actually pretty nice. And all of these mods have a drain of 7, so they're not going to take too much of your capacity up. And then there's Hata Satya for the Soma Prime. This one is interesting. This one will probably interest a lot of you, especially if you've got the Soma Prime. Each hit increases crit chance by 1.2%, resets upon reloading or holstering. What that essentially means is for every single hit that you've got in the Soma, your crit chance will increase for every single hit. and it doesn't seem like there's a cooldown to it either. Or I'm sorry, not a cooldown. It doesn't seem like there's a timer for the crit chance either. So you could go through and shoot somebody in the face, like you could shoot somebody in the torso like a Nox a bunch of times, and build up that crit beyond 100% crit chance. Or if you've got a Riven for your Soma Prime and you've got Hada Satya on your Soma Prime as well, you could get above 200%, 250% crit and just start dealing red crits like crazy, especially if your crit multiplier is higher than 3. And you can just start melting enemies, especially if you've got a very large mag, which is not too uncommon when you're using the Soma Prime. That is OP. And honestly, I see, as much as I hate to say it, I can see that mod right there getting a timer as a nerf, because as potent as that is, especially if you've got that, like say if you're in doing a fissure mission or something like that, a fissure survival, you crack open all the relics and you get that temporary buff that gives you infinite ammo. You can just go through and just spray and pray and hit enemies just left and right, especially if you're on like minute 40 or 45 and all the enemies are tougher than usual. You can just go through and just spray down a corridor that's infested with enemies and get over 300, 400, 500% depending on your fire rate, and get crazy amounts of red crit damage. That's gonna be nerfed. That is definitely going to be nerfed, because there's no condition to it. It's 1.2% crit for every single shot that you get on an enemy. There's no particular place you gotta shoot them. There's no timer to it. You just gotta hit them. You could shoot them in the foot and you could still get that buff. That's an awesome mod. But in order to get it, you have to be associate. Oh, I'm sorry, you gotta be friend. If I remember correctly, friend is rank 3, which is the rank that you have to be to get the Helmet Chrysalis system. But that's going to be a mod that a lot of people are going to go through and get.
Okay, I guess not. Be seeing you again, I'm sure.
Oh, you will. And that is essentially that. Oh yeah, let's go talk to Mother real quick. We haven't talked to her yet. This is Mother.
Of course this place is harsh. It's testing us. You have to be harsher still. Look it in the eye.
Bold words. Anywho, Mother is the one that you talk to go through and rank up. As you can see from Entrati standing in her her dialogue set. Now, I am currently Stranger, but we're not going to go into Entrati standing, because I mean, you either get it for yourself or you don't get it for yourself. There are certain things that you can and can't get in particular bounties, and there are certain things that you can or can't get just by going through into Cambion Drift, preferably on solo and farming. But bounties are the only places that you can go through and get Zaku's parts. Zaku is the new frame, and I'm sure I don't have to explain that. Barring that one, salvage, or just, the second one is always going to be the one, as far as I've seen, that has Zaku's neuroptics. And one of the things that I am massively interested in is the fact that Weeping Wounds is on there. I'm going to farm out Weeping Wounds whenever I get the time, but I'm not going to go through, just to let you guys know right now, I am not about to go through and do any bounties right this second because I'm currently waiting to go to the bank. Anyhow, the second tier 1 gives you the opportunity to farm out Zaku's Neuroptics. The tier 2 gives you all those goodies. There's not really any special mods on there, with the exception of Karnus Stinger, which I think is the only Karnus set mod that I don't have right now, but that's beside the point. You skip that one and go to rank 3 to get Zata's Systems. And apparently Argon Scope is a rare drop, which is also a pretty ridiculous mod. It's essentially hydraulic crosshairs for rifles, and works really well with snipers. Oh hey, hydraulic crosshairs is also on there as well as Blood Rush and Laser Sight. Wow, that one's just a crit, the crit bounty. The Quasis is the new war fan, Zaku's war fan, and I haven't built it yet, but it's got some interesting stats. I didn't see anything really all that unique about it, but yeah. The tier 5 is how you get Zaku's chassis. Now, I've seen people talking about having issues where they can't get Zata's Systems to drop for them. I don't understand why, because I went through and I soloed this one, not that particular one, but I soloed that tier 3, and got Zata's Systems, or I'm sorry, Zaku's Systems by myself. And I didn't have any issues. I just went through and I just enjoyed the farm, and I ended up getting them. If you go through and start doing bounties with the intent of farming out Zaku's parts, on all likelihood, you probably won't get them, unless you're just extremely lucky. But that's beside the point. Then there's the Anomaly Retrieval Steel Path. I am not going to touch that with a 200-foot pole. That's just a Steel Path mission. But setting all these aside, how you go through and get parts for your Necromech, I still haven't done that yet, because, I mean, this is only day 2 of Heart of Deimos dropping, and I haven't had a whole lot of time to do anything at the moment. How you go through and get parts for your Necromech is you go through and do the Snow Expiratory mission for Isolation Vault. I recommend going through and doing this either solo or with 1 or 2 specific people, because I went and did this twice with a group of blueberries, randos, and when we got to the vault door, the top icon would not render. And that, what I mean by that statement is that it wasn't blocked. The symbol would not pop up because the game did not understand how the code was supposed to be displayed in terms of graphic. That basically made going through and opening up the Isolation Vault a guessing game, which we failed both times because we had to guess, and you only get 3 chances to guess it. So after the 3rd chance, it locks and you complete the mission. Doesn't fail you, but it does complete it. But you get into the Isolation Vault and you farm, and getting into the Isolation Vault gives you the opportunity to go through and grab the damaged Necromech parts, or specifically the weapons. As you can see there, the damaged necromech weapon barrel, the damaged necromech weapon receiver, and the damaged necromech weapon stock are things that you can go through and get as rare drops. I ended up on my first run getting the Auric and Animus matrices right off the top, just right off the bat. And the second run, I ended up getting the common one. I ended up getting the Auric and Orientation matrices. So, yeah, I would recommend going through and farming that out whenever you get the opportunity, because that's what I'm going to do. And in addition to going through and doing bounties, you also get standing on completion of said bounty. So that also helps you go through and rank up in Entrati. But yeah, that is essentially my first impression into the Entrati Syndicate and Heart of Deimos, at least in terms of the Necrolisk. And yeah, I recommend that you guys all, and I strongly recommend this, that you guys all, whenever you get to rank 8, go in, do your cinematic quest for Entrati, and as soon as you get to the point where you can just farm out Cambion Drift, do it. Farm it out for hours if you can, and get all of the resources possible, because trust me when I say some of these resources can be a bit of a pain to get a hold of. But yeah, that is the stream. Hope this video was informative. Oh, by the way, I'm sorry. Well, no, I mentioned that already. Hope this video was informative. If it was, or if you have any questions, or if I missed anything, please go through and put a comment down in this on this video's comment section, and I will be sure to keep myself updated. And if there's anything else or whatnot, then by all means go through and send me an in-game message if you play on PS4. But yeah, guys, take it easy.